I was reading something earlier about Christopher Columbus and his son wrote his story, right?
Yeah,
His
yeah.
illegitimate son, and they called him a moron or a Moran,
A Moran.
Moran. If I'm not mistaken, that was
No, you're
the
correct.
spelling.
You're correct.
And this is and look, we got pictures showing Christopher Columbus looking like a black man. You know what I'm
A
saying?
mulatto. They called him a Jew, a crypto Jew, a Morisco,
His
a
son said
Morisco.
they said they was descendants of nobility from Jerusalem. This is what the
Jerusalem.
son wrote.
Facts. Now, understand? That's a factual situation. What you just said, you're 100% right. Dealing with Columbus being a Morisco, he was not a white man. He was not what we call today a white man. He was a Morisco. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which means he was a mix of descent. I don't know exactly what mix it was, but he still was not considered a white man at that
Right.
time. And at the same time, because of dealing with the religious understanding that was taking place at that time, these people that was converted through holy war that were conquered in the areas and regions of North Africa, Spain, Italy, etc. Because I can't go down the line, converted from being what they were,
Christian.
Jews and Muslims, to being Christians underneath the Roman Catholic Empire. See, a lot of people don't know. By the way, during this time frame, Charles V, the Roman Emperor, was a Negro. Charles V was a Negro at the time when a lot of shit was going on. It was like, I brought up the more part to break down the title of nobility. That means that go across the plane. Even if you were indigenous and you held a title of nobility, they looked at you in the same manner, but you were still expelled because you were not a Christian. So when they came to conquer your land, they acknowledged you as nobility, even though you controlled your territory, because you was being conquered based off of the dumb diverses, the Papal Bull, Doctrine of Discovery, and anybody dealing with and looking like and not moving with the religious belief of what was coming to conquer was considered savage and your land could be taken.
Gracias. Y nos sentamos, אנחנו נשב. אדון ג'אומי.
The royal documents from that year, 1492, are still kept in the Crown Archives in Barcelona.
קצת עברית. הדבר הראשון שהייתי רוצה לראות זה את פקודת הגירוש. אדיקטו ד'אקספולסיון.
When I went there, the curator showed me the records kept by the court secretary Juan de Coloma, who, like many of the court officials at that time, was also of Jewish Morono stock. The curator showed me the records kept by the court secretary Juan de Coloma, who, like many of the court officials at that time, was also of Jewish Morono stock.
El edicto de expulsión para los judíos de Castilla es este.
Es este.
Este es el documento de la expulsión que empieza aquí don Fernando y doña Isabel, por la gracia de Dios, rey y reina de Castilla, etc.
Sí.
Y firma Juan de Coloma.
Sí.
Y en este mismo libro, unas páginas después, aquí, están las capitulaciones hechas en Granada el día 17 de abril de 1492.
¿Se envían copias de esto?
Y primero se copia aquí.
A todos los lugares del reinado. Sí. Pero aquí es la copia...
La matriz.
La matriz, ¿verdad?
Exacto.
Y de aquí se copia a otro. Dígame, señor Jaume, si podríamos leer un párrafo o alguna línea 2 del texto mismo, en la parte más operativa.
La línea central...
La frase central del edicto de la expulsión.
Por este nuestro real edicto perpetuo para siempre valedero, mandamos echar y echamos de todos nuestros reinos y señoríos, occiduos y orientales, a todos los dichos judíos y judías, grandes y pequeños, que en los dichos reinos y señoríos nuestros están y se fallan.
Christopher Colombo, he was born Cristoforo Colombo. He changed his name to Cristoforo Colombo. Then he changed his name to Cristobal Colon because he created a colony. The first thing Columbus did was create a colony. He left 39 people here. One of my colleagues' wife said, well, they didn't have enough room because the ship got broke. I said, he took 27 of my ancestors back, 2 ran away, so he got 25. So he could have left only 13 here. He left a colony here. He paid to find a colony. Why was Cristoforo Colombo looking for a colony? He left Spain the day after 100,000 Jews were expelled. Was Columbus a Jew? I don't know. There's a whole book by Dari Aga that charts enough evidence to suggest he could as easily have been a Jew as anything else, because you can't find anything on Columbus. You can't find his birth certificate. He knew Sebastian Cabot, whose name was, what's the guy? And he knew Verrazano, he knew Cabral. Well, all these suckers Jews? That would explain all this major exploration, because who were the people who needed a homeland? Jews. Everybody else had a nation. Who were the people being kicked out of Europe? Everybody else had a nation. Right. You know, why don't we do some anthropological studies on those people? And I don't mean this negatively, but it seems to me like the Muslims had gone back to Africa. The Portuguese had gotten Portugal. The Spaniards had gotten Spain. They wanted to be a nation. Nations are emerging. The only thing that made you a nation was your religion. You were either Islamic nation or a Christian nation. Well, you can't be a Christian nation with 100,000 Jews in there owning everything. And you need money, so you kick them out and steal all their money. Teach. Luis de Santander was Columbus's benefactor. He financed the slave trade. I have a 40-page paper that was in the City Sun on that. Were the Jews involved in the slave trade? Hell yes! Take slave out the sentence and ask the question. That's what I told my friend. Take slave out the sentence. He said, what? I said, take slave out the sentence. Were the Jews involved in the trade? He said, oh. You know what trade Jews ain't involved in? They've been the merchants of the world for 2,000 years. He said, oh, well, how much? I said, but that's not the question. You are now adjusting the question.
A respected Jewish rabbi said to me that this book is a great calumny against the Jewish people because it says that Jews were major in the slave trade, while he contended that Jews were only 2% of the slave trade. Now, I told the rabbi, since we quoted eminent Jewish scholars, rabbis, and historians, if he will go before the world and denounce every scholar that we have quoted as a liar, then I'll throw the book away. But this book says, and I'm quoting now, Jewish scholars, that the bulk of the slave trade in Brazil was in the hands of Jewish settlers. This was a Dr. Ira Friedman, who was a one-time president of the American Jewish Historical Society. Now, you know that in the Western Hemisphere, blacks in Brazil number more than blacks in America. And this same historical society said that 75% of the Jews in the South owned slaves, while only 36% of the Gentile whites owned slaves. Now, why are we saying this? What is this for? Slavery caused the total destruction of an entire people. We lost our names, our language, our history, our culture, our God, and then were turned inside out because of slavery. And the fact that we have black-on-black violence, black-on-black crime, and the murder of one another is directly related to self-hatred, which was instilled in us through slavery, and the American institutions have reinforced it. At some point in time, everyone that had a part in our destruction must be called upon to have a part in our redemption. We can't let our African brothers off the hook. They helped to sell us into slavery. We can't let Arabs off the hook. They made a profit from slavery. We can't let Gentile Europeans off the hook, but neither can we let Jews off of the hook who held our fathers as slaves. Nor can we let the government of America off, because the government of the United States of America has proved to be the worst enemy of black people. So now when it comes time for justice, this is not spoken out of hatred or out of bitterness, but reparations have to be given to black people, even as Jews received reparations from the onslaught of Nazi Germany. And now the Japanese are going to receive reparations for what America did by putting them in concentration camps. What's wrong with the children of slaves? We are here poor, ragged, hungry, naked, and out of doors. Reparations is what we want, and everyone that had a part in our destruction will have a part in paying reparations. I'll be right back with more Louis Farrakhan.